Right. Good morning. It is King's Day in the Netherlands. I should be wearing orange, but I forgot to wear to buy an orange crown, which I wanted to do. I might still get one later this afternoon. Um, Shops aren't open yet. I think there might be. I'm not gonna go for the shops just for that. It's like no. Anyway, it's a holiday, so spare time. Might as well do something somewhat maybe useful. Um, I have been annoyed for some time within RimWorld that the key bindings are always only just one key. So, well, you can assign two keys, but like it's either or. And it's just like one key press. So anything A, B, F1, 9, pause, scroll lock, whatever, any key. But you can't like add modifiers to it. So you can't say you have to be Control Shift S or something like that. That just doesn't work. So we're going to make our own little key binding class that basically mimics the in-game one, but has space for those modifiers, and also allows mouse clicks as key bindings. So that's what we're gonna do. I would love to extend the key binding def, so that's the in-game vanilla one, but that like none of these methods are virtual, so like just no, not gonna happen. We're also going to create a little helper class thingy to make a nice editable like edit environment so that you can easily plug it into your settings, because we won't be able to use the in-game key binding menu because we're not using in-game key bindings. I could try to hack it in there somehow, but I think I'll just leave this. I'll mostly be using it myself anyway. I mean, I could put it out there as an XML kind of thing, but I don't think many people will use it. Um, so I'm just going to leave it as a C# only thing. So if you're going to use it, you have to put it into the mod options yourself, which I think is probably fine for most intents and purposes. So I set up a little new project. I was going to try and inherit the key binding, but that doesn't actually help at all. So let's just leave that off. So what do we need? We need well, we need to, as the data, we need to know like, okay, is this which modifiers do we have? So public bool shift, public bool control, and public bool alt. I think that is most of them. I'm always confused about what modifiers like other keyboards and languages and operating systems might have. Like Apple has command, but I'm pretty sure that's just a different version of control for all intents and purposes. And you have alt gr, which is used, I think, in Germanic languages sometimes. Well, no, in German mostly, as a separate thing, as a different thing than alt. In Dutch, it's kind of the same. We don't really use alt gr, I think. But yeah, I have no idea. I don't think function has any meaning as far as the operating system concerned. That's just a switch between like keys to switch the keys functions directly on the keyboard, I think. I'm no idea. Did that do anything? No. No. I'm gonna say. But we can have a look. We can because Unity will give us event current, and it's like just what does Unity have with alt button, which is for which mouse button is actually being pressed right now. Delta is for mouse movements. Function key. So apparently function key is a thing, and we could use that theoretically. I'm not gonna. I think key code is the actual button that's been pressed, so we'll need to use that. What is in modifiers? Ah, here, there we go. Okay, so this is Public event modifiers. Modifiers. There's a nice flags thing there already that we can use. So this is an enum which is set up. And control and command are different things. Okay. What else? But we can use that. So that saves us a little bit of complexity. That's nice, that's nice, that's nice. Okay. We need so let's start with the logic to see, okay, is this button that we're using, is that actually pressed? And let's start with just using key codes. We'll plug in mouse input later. So we also want to have like mouse buttons and scroll wheel. But for now, so, well, let's get the old key binding def back for a little bit. Just because I want to have it here. Can I pin you? Just as a comparison. I'm not actually going to inherit it. We should probably inherit def just for the benefits that gives us. So yeah, you have the key we will need, definitely. So there's a key code. Just key. Yeah, that's the bullshit with having two keys assigned to the same thing. I don't really see that as a... Why? Why would you... No, we're not gonna do that. Okay. Not key prefs data, key prefs, swagger value, out key binding data. I don't know what this is. So I guess this is the player set key bindings. So this does have code. Wow. It has an amazing amount of code for allowing the modifier keys themselves to act as a key binding. So I guess you could then combine them. Theoretically, you could say like if... Yeah. So you could have two key bindings for Alt and whatever, and the key you want. So say you want Alt F, then you could have check for Alt being present and F being present. That's still not very nice though, and like it still doesn't have the edit interface that we would like and stuff like that. So just doing the same thing again. And it's checking for... it's interesting to me that now they just check for the get key and they don't do the whole shebang with shift and alt and whatever. Like, why would that not be a thing then? But alright. That's basically all the different little events. Okay. We need to check No, not override. We need to check if the modifiers match and if the key matches. So let's make a little little helper functions for each of those. So modifiers match whatever for a given event that we're looking at. Event is a special. Don't do this at home, kids. Modifiers. I always forget how to compare flags. And so that's a binary and, so that would say that they have to be active in both. And that should then be the same again. Yeah. So and modifiers equals modifiers. Bool key matches, well, key code matches event at event. The little app there is just to tell the compiler that we're not actually using the keyword event, but we want to make this a like a variable name. And generally speaking, that's just a horrible code smell, and you shouldn't be doing it. But I do what I want. Key codes. I can just use this key in it. Oh no, it just is saying that this is a key. Right. Okay. Yeah, no, fair enough. Key codes. I don't need the extra braces here. This is just key. Yeah. Brilliant. That'll do. Well. No, I'm gonna leave it with key for now. I was thinking about adding the my stuff, but the my stuff is gonna get a little bit of extra complexity quite quickly, because I'm pretty sure there's no. I mean, I'll just have to create my own enum, I guess. I don't think the scroll wheel has like its own integer index. Maybe it does. So you have like mouse but. Excuse me. You have mouse buttons with a certain amount of numbers. So 0 is left mouse button, 1 is right mouse button, 2 is the middle mouse button. And I'm not sure if it goes any higher, and if it does, what is actually bound to that. But I have a sneaky suspicion that the scroll wheel is not one of those numbers, and that it's actually its own input device range kind of thing. I don't know. But again, let's leave it out for now. Bool matches event. And for now, we just again, yeah. So modifiers. And key code. And then we have the this kind of stuff. So key down event. is down event current equals no, then return false. Well, that's that one again. I am so confused. Why is this a different thing? What is the... Okay, this is just either key down event or is down event. Okay. One sec. Oh, fine. Thought I got an important email there, but just spam. So basically what we care about, just pressed and key and is down. I think. I don't think the other ones are actually doing much, but I'm sure I'll be wrong and I'll have to go back and add them at some point. But just pressed is basically saying it's going from it the other way around, which is a little bit annoying. Because normally I would look at event current data. Current is not null. Well, type, yeah, equals key down. Let's just press. Oh, that's my own thing. Key down. And well, the event type equals key down. If the event doesn't exist, that becomes null, and then it cannot equal that. And it matches event. I do actually need to return that. I don't think we actually need a constructor on this. Yeah, Rikudo, I'm modding quite a bit, and I figure if I'm modding, then I might as well be streaming it. So I'm not really holding to my schedule, and I'm just going through it. And yeah, this is for command palette. I'm doing it as a standalone thing though. So I could also use it in other things. Just gonna be like a little extra DLL that I can just drop in where I need it. I mean, I have the same already for like a color picker and some utility UI functions. It does, but the RimWorld system doesn't allow for modifiers, and it only allows for keys. So now what I need to do is A, allow modifiers, Control Alt, Shift, whatever, all that kind of jazz, and B, also allow mouse inputs. Yeah. So left click, mouse click, scroll wheel, that kind of stuff. And I'm sure there are other, because I mean, I'm sure there's a way to do this easier in Unity as well. It's probably people who've already created a system for this. I could just copy paste it, but screw it. I figured this was a nice project for today, so that's what I'm gonna do today. This is such a roundabout way of doing things. Instead of just saying return that or that, it's just ugh. So I'm not entirely happy with this because we are giving our we're giving it a different meaning than just pressed has here. Does this have modifiers on it? It does not. So then I would have to check for all of the modifiers separately with getKey. And for the particular actual key that we're looking for with getKeyDown. It's not the end of the world. I'm gonna leave it like this for now and see if that breaks anything. Button. No, just that's an int button. So I'm gonna. I think that's basically it. So I'm just gonna. I'm gonna start adding the mouse stuff. Public. Is there something like a direction on the scroll wheel? I think there is. Is scroll wheel, and otherwise it's delta, right? Yeah. So I just it's a scroll direction, and I think that's about all we need. So we'd have to, and we need a little enum, public enum, and this is going to be input type. I have no idea if that's a good name for it, but that will either be key, mouse, button, or scroll wheel. Public inputs type. Okay, so the modifiers are always the same. The key code matches. That's only necessary for key. Public bool button matches. I mean, this is overkill, but there's no kill like overkill, right? So let's put that little check in there so that these functions have like purpose. Is mouse and event button equals button, and then finally public bool scroll matches event scroll wheel event. All right, this is a little bit trickier. Is there like a direction on this? You've got the magnitude, you've got a normalized. Normalized puts it on a radius 1 circle. I'm pretty sure. You can put it to an angle and see if that, where that leads us. But I think this puts it on a unit circle. Yeah, because it's just dividing by magnitude. And the magnitude is the distance from the origin, so from 0, 0, right? Yeah, that's just Pythagoras. Okay, what does that help? So what we could do is we could normalize it and check if it's equal to the direction. That should theoretically work, because this is going to put it on a 1, 0, and if it's so the scroll wheel should always be in either up, left, right, or down exactly. If it's a scroll direction in like some weird angle, I don't know if there's some analog inputs that might be able to do that, then this is going to fail. We'll see when we get there. I don't think that's going to be relevant. So we have modifiers match and keycode matches. So we really don't need this because what does this check? Is it just going to be event type is key? Event type is this type. Event type key down or key up. Right, okay, so we do need to check specifically for key down as well, because otherwise we'll fire that twice. And the same here. So basically we don't want to use is mouse, we just want to use is mouse down. Probably even up. Yeah, scroll wheel we can use because that's always right. Event type equals key down. Type equals mouse. I'm going to use down because I'm using key down as well. There are reasons to say that you might want to use up because when you click, now it would immediately trigger, but you might move off of it then and release. Yeah, but well, yeah. I mean, this helper does exactly that, but let's do it specifically just to make it easier for myself. Scroll so that everything is in the same sort of structure. Right, then we can use just pressed. We want to return the modifiers match. That always needs to be the case. And either the key code matches we're checking way too much. So if the modifiers don't match, then we can return false immediately because we know this is never gonna work. Otherwise, let's do a little switch here on type. I don't get autocomplete on that. Well, that's it. Thank you. T, and that would be return key code matches. Mouse button, return mouse. What was it? Button matches. And finally, return scroll matches. You are complaining because not all code paths return a value. You would think that was exhaustive, but okay. Hey there, Smash. Log message. Warning. Unknown event. Keybind type. I set my channel to auto host some of the people that that are watching and that are like subscribed or that I know are also streaming. So Smash and Brains, Erdelf, Code Optimist, a couple of other people. So if you have any problems with that, let me know and I can take it off again. But I don't see why you would have a problem with that, so I just went ahead and did it. Unknown keybind type. Input type. No, it's just type. I mean, this is again overkill. Everything. Blah blah blah. Remove argument name. What are you? And it's getting cast to string automatically. Fair enough. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah, but I mean, then at least when you're streaming, you get maybe a little bit more views and just. I mean, it's good to support each other in this, and we've got a very small community anyway. So it might as well share our audiences, right? Okay, I think that should do the trick. Ooh. Didn't, like, okay. Why? I avoid that shit with like a 10-yard stick. It's really not my cup of tea, so to speak. All right, we need an edit interface for this. So let's create a little class for that. Class. Right. Sorry, I'm getting distracted. I'm thinking about how I want to do this because I want to make it as easy for myself to use as possible, obviously. So I usually, my options pages are just like the listing standard. It's just the simplest way to get an option page going quickly. So do I want to try to build it into the listing? I guess, I mean, it's easy enough to, but then that means that I can't have state in it, which makes it a little bit harder to do like input fields and stuff. Although I guess, like, how do the input text fields and stuff do it? They make you set up like scratch memory or whatever you want to call it. I could do the same, but that would just get complicated. So I think I'll just make it an object that has its own state built in and has a little draw function, and then you can just get a rect from a standard listing and do the drawing in that. So it will be 2 calls instead of 1, but it at least can abstract away like all of the underlying state and data that it needs. That sounds cool, Smash. So what is it using now? Is it like using the POM pathing? So it's just like quickly going around? Or? Yeah, that I can imagine that's a little bit jarring if you have a texture that is like, how big are they? 20 pixels or something? Or 20 pixels, 20 cells at most, I think. And that just completely junks and yeah, no, yeah. Made a redesign of the ASTAR argument which still uses the same rendering that Pons uses. Just cell to cell with a tweener class that offsets it based on what percent it is. Yeah. But the rotation isn't like what do you want to call it? Tweened, or there's a different word for that. I don't think it's as terrible as it used to be anymore. Like, it used to be absolutely horrendous, but it could definitely use with some optimizing. But I mean, you have to see, and that's what I always tell people as well. As far as Titan is concerned, this is a story generator and not a colony management game. So myself, and I know a lot of other people, I play it as a colony management game. I try to make like a large colony and have everything working as efficiently as possible and everything. That's not how the game is actually like conceived to be. So that's also not what he puts the most attention into. He just doesn't care that much about optimization, and it's only now that he's starting to do it a little bit, and I guess that's because it's a successful game and a lot of people are playing it this way. So he has a little bit more money to actually do that. A little bit more. I mean, he's a fucking millionaire, but at least I don't know how much the Canadian taxman takes, but going by sales, he should be a millionaire. Anyway, so I need a public void draw. You're going to be drawing in a given rect. In that rect, I want you to draw a button that says edit. Then there's the either a preview or an editor. And that's it. That's all you need, right? Okay, so we have two rects. We have edit icon rect equals. I'm going to make this a new rect that is going to be a little bit offset from the X position, so a little bit into. I also need a label. Label rects equals new rects. So again, that's going to start from canvas x min plus margin equals 6. I generally use 6 as just a spitball thing. Min plus margin, using the vector way of doing things, and the actual label rect is going to be 1/3 of the size of this thing. Canvas with filter 3 equals height -2 times margin. No, you don't want to do that? Why don't you want to do that? Since when do you don't do that? You do times, but not plus. Sorry, shouldn't hit the microphone. I know why they set up the pathing other than the way they did. There's a lot of areas that are highly unoptimized still, like the job system. Yeah. I asked him once, because the job system we use now is like all the pawns are continuously polling if anything has any jobs available. And what most other games use, and most games of these types, is they have some kind of job board. So if something has a job available, they'll put it on the board, and then you can just look at the board and say, oh, whatever jobs are in there and which is the highest priority that I can do. And that's a much simpler approach than having to validate all of the jobs every time with the polling. So I asked him about that. Like I spoke with Tynan about like, why did you choose to do it this way? Like when every other game does it a different way. And he said like this allows him to be much more flexible in like in what kind of jobs you can do and how that can interact. And I think that's kind of true to the extent that it's easier to be flexible this way because you don't have to work with like a common interface for the polling bit, I think, or for like the job board. But I still don't completely understand why you couldn't do that on a job board as well. I mean, if you keep a reference to what the job is and what like the targets of the job are, then you can still go through the polling list and say like, oh wait, but I'm not allowed to touch that target or something like that. Yeah. And it's also ridiculous. Like in the less work you have to do, the worse it gets. So if you have a pawn set up to do 20 different jobs and only like hauling is available, it's like the last possible job, then he has to go through all of the 19 before that and check if there's anything there, which is just terrible for performance. Yeah.
Just want to close the door.
Oh. But yeah, I mean, I can totally imagine that, like, why he wouldn't want to change it, because that would be a massive rewrite and like change a hell of a lot of things at the same time. You know what? Let's do this the other way then. Can't do it like this. We'll just say canvas min that one, and then contract you by the margin. Please just break it there in a place that makes sense. Right. Edit icon. Going to start at canvas x min times 1/3. Yeah. I mean, I'm not disagreeing with you. I just, yeah. Y position for now is going to be canvas Y min. We'll center it in there in a second. And the icon size is going to be 24 because that's a decent icon size. And then we're going to center that on Y in canvas. Then finally we have our what's this? Preview rect, I don't know, whatever. New rect. This is going to start at an X position of the edit icon rect. X max plus margin. Y position. No, I can leave the margin off again. I'll contract it anyway. Y position is just going to be canvas Y min. The width needs to be whatever the fuck we have left, so that's going to be canvas width minus, no, that cannot work, x max minus edit icon rect x max. We don't know if we're rendering from 0, so we cannot just assume that the maximum x coordinate is equal to the width. So if I use canvas width and I did minus edit icon rect x max, or yeah, then that might lead us into interesting situations. So that's the width, and the height will just be canvas height. Why do you have to contract? No, sorry. Contract it by our margin again. Okay, that's got the 3. I'm sorry, I cannot stand this. I need to have this shit on separate lines because they're just too long. I know. My brain doesn't understand if it's all on separate things. It gets confused. Label is simple enough. That's just going to be widgets, label on our label rects, and we're going to put our label in here. I do think I actually need to give it a def to work with, so this is going to be our better key binding. It is a def, so let's call it a def. No, I hardly ever want to do that. Def. Let's give it a constructor to deal with that. Key binding. Editor. That equals def. Yay! Yeah, it's a lot of work building a good music. How restricted this is from performance issues. And it would probably be some pretty insane mods potentially if it wasn't so poor on game performance. Yeah, absolutely. I'm a little bit amazed that Tynan is still trying to wring more out of this engine. Like royalty, I get. That's just some extra content, and well, frankly, not that much extra content. Just yeah, I mean, it's a DLC. Everybody's doing it. It's an easy way to earn some extra money. But I don't understand why he's talking about doing multiplayer for the next one. It's like, why are you trying to add extra functions to an engine that is kind of shit, if we're honest about it? So why don't you just, I don't know, start RimWorld 2 or something? Just get things right from the start. Resolve these issues, build multiplayer in from the start, build possibly multi-core pathfinding in or stuff like that. Just up your performance, learn from your mistakes, and then work from that. As Erdolf pointed out, though, they don't plan. They just do whatever they want at the moment, and then they move on. I mean, Tynan's actually said that in the design document they had, and that they just like they discuss it at the moment how they like it, and then they move on from that. So there's no long-term plan. Yeah. I mean, I hope and assume they at least approach the modders that are working on that now. Because I mean, I'm still utterly gobsmacked that the multiplayer thing actually even works remotely as nicely as it does. I was expecting it to be one laggy, horrible nightmare, but it actually works fairly well. So I'm yeah, super amazed about that. This is going to be widgets. Bottom image. What is the difference with fitted? Oh, wrong button. Yeah, sure. So that's just using draw texture fitted, whereas button image is just using. Yeah, it's just using draw texture and button invisible. And what is so special about draw texture fitted? Well, it allows you to angle shit. So I guess you can angle things and make sure that it still fits within the original area or something. I don't know. Doesn't matter. We're just gonna put the normal one in there. Image means we'll have a resources class at some point. Oh, that's actually a Unity thing. Well, let's create our own then. Public static as resources. This will have a static constructor on startup. It will have a texture 2D edit icon. No, you can be public. And in your constructor, you can initialize that one. So that will be content finder texture 2D get. You will be in UI icons edit eventually. So if we press this button and this is edit icon rect resources, yep, And then edit icon, you need to be static. Do we need anything else? No, that's some mouse over colors and sounds and stuff. I think those are defined fairly sanely by default. Then we set edit mode, true, and we'll create you. Yeah. Okay, so what I want to do, in the default mode, it's just going to be a gray blob. Bind there, so it's going to be widgets, draw, box solid. Yeah, that's just the highlights and stuff, that's fine. And not entirely sure if there's a way to do this. Yeah, let's draw rect fast. What is draw option background? Is that what I want it to be? Okay, well it has the highlights and stuff, that is nice. Which an option selected BG wheel color? Yeah, I have no idea what the fuck that is. So that is a slightly darker thing. I have no idea where they use that. Well, you know what? Let's give it a try. Draw option background. On that would be on the what's it called? What did I call it? Preview rect. I guess this can just be edit mode then, which means we don't need that here. Yeah. Okay, so we need a way to render this stuff. I would kind of like to have images for it, but I guess that's stupid overkill. So let's not do that. What I do want is labels for these kind of things, for the mouse buttons and stuff. And I don't think we currently have those in button names. So that's going to be 0 is left mouse button. Middle mouse button. No, I don't think I want to do this in enum. I want to do this in a little static function here, so that I can just return like button 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, whatever for the rest of them. Public static string button label int button, and that will be a switch again. Button, yeah, return, 1, return mmb case 2, return mmb. I don't know if anybody's ever heard of that, but it should be clear given the context, and default is return button. Okay. Do the same for the key code, the key label. I mean, that's that's just going to be return key to string. I'm fairly sure that's also how they do it here. To string readable. What is the difference there? Okay, sure. I would argue that this is more readable than that, but sure. And finally we have public static string scroll label key code. No, not key code. This is a vector to delta. If delta equals up, down, down. Let's just normalize it to make sure that this is actually working as intended. Normalized, and we'll just do left and right as well, even though I don't think there's too many people that will actually be using that, but it's theoretically possible. Yeah, that would do. Okay. I kind of want to do the label stuff in here, I think. I don't know if that might make sense to do that in a helper function, but I've started doing the label stuff in here for this stuff. So let's do 2 more label functions in here. Static string label for a better key binding def. We'll also make an overload that is that even? Yeah, that is possible. Static, no, not static, string label. Right. So we want to return the label for Modifiers? No, just modifiers. I can't do that. Def modifiers. Plus. No, wait. If equals def modifiers equals none, then that will be an empty string. Otherwise, it is get modifier label. Def modifiers plus a little plus on the end. Alright, that's what we start off with, and then we'll add in a switch for the def type. We can have that filled in. We can have that filled in. Thank you. Key would be label plus equals. Ooh, excuse me. Key label, key, def key, label plus equals. This is button label, def button. And this would be scroll. Thank you. Yeah. Unknown. And then we will return that label. Going too quickly for my own good. We still need to implement modifier label. And that is event modifier, I believe. Yeah. Okay. I'm trying to figure out if there's a way that I can get each of them separately. Just like, what is this a thing? Get all selected items? Is that going to give me all of the flag values of that separately? Because that would be amazing. Yeah, it does look like it would. Okay. And that would then be event modifiers, right? I mean, I can just return this straight away. Return flags. We can join those. Oh, this is not doing what I think it's doing. I need to make them a string first. Event string, and then that we can join. No, I don't want that. I want there's a, yeah, that's the way to do it. I'm doing this the wrong way around. And we want to join them with a plus. Yeah. Alrighty then. It's not complaining about that. Interesting. I think that's all of our editor label thingies done. Then in this we want to set the text anchor to center, middle, center, that one, to draw it in the center of the rect that we defined. Then if we are in edit mode, we need to do a slightly different label function. Public static string label for an event. I mean, to be fair, the moment we put one of the last things in there, like if we put the moment we click or whatever, we're leaving edit mode. I think that's the best way to do that. So it doesn't really matter that, like, we don't need a different label for the event thing. We just need the modifiers. So we can just do widgets, draw, label, sorry, almost. In preview rect, and this is going to be better keybinding def modifier label event current modifiers. Yeah? Simple as that. Then if event current, can we we just have to do the same thing again with the mouse down, key down, and scroll wheel. Alright. Current type equals mouse down. Then we can say that the type of our thing is mouse button. Def button equals event current button. And we can quit edit mode. Else if, sorry, event current type equals equals key down. Def type equals type key. Def key equals event current key code. Why are you complaining? Oh, obviously. Edit mode false. And finally, else if event current type scroll scroll and depth scroll direction equals event current. I think this is just delta. Doesn't say anything about it, does it? I'm pretty sure that was delta, but yeah, it's not like we can see that here or something. And there's not another different scroll axis or something. No. I mean, you can look at input and then, yeah, there's mouse scroll delta, which is more specific. I just don't know what the difference between event current and input is, so it's kind of... I think one might be like the legacy mode and the other one might be the new mode or something. Should probably figure that out. Okay. Otherwise, widgets, label, preview rects, def label. No, that one. I rather feel like I'm forgetting something, to be honest. And to be fair, this doesn't need to be a separate class. I think only the edit mode is the thing. I mean, it doesn't really matter, but... Interesting. Do I want this to be a def? I want it to be exposable. Just going to be scribe values, look, graph type, type. You complaining about this? Yeah, you are. Of course you are. Scribe values, look, graph mods. String modifiers. Hey. No, I shouldn't say string there, but ref key of ref button. Scroll direction. Done. Okay, let's move these things out to their own classes. Or their own files, at least. I mean, there are obviously already classes. Just like to keep things a little bit neater like that. And this one can also be its own. Right. I think that should actually work. I'd be surprised if it didn't. Famous last words, but... And I wouldn't be surprised if it didn't. I would just be mildly disappointed. But I don't think I've missed anything here, so this should be the basics of it. I need the icon though. Just drop in a quick icon there. I don't know. This seems about fine. PNG, I want it in a different color down. Do I need to do that in the editor? How annoying. Oh, not icon as a 24 by 24. And this is in tools. I just realized that this is kind of annoying because if I import the DLL, I need to make sure that I also import the actual texture. But I guess that's not the end of the world. It just makes it slightly more annoying to use. Better key binding. Let's just drop it in there. Textures. Oh, wrong button. What is it? Control Shift N? Yeah. UI, Shift N, icons. I know it's absolute overkill to have it nested like 4 times already, but I like that. UI icons, drop it in there. This is going to be edit, PNG, and because we're not utter assholes, we're going to add in a license. And this came from... Yes, you were going to tell me? No? You're not going to tell me? Well, you're going to tell me eventually somewhere. Right. Yeah, great, brilliant. PNG. Andrea Valianu CC by NC 3.0. And this came from... Do you have a specific link to just you? There we go. One of these days I need to set up a script that actually parses my license files and mentions them in the descriptions. Because it's a little bit gray that, okay, this is some sort of attribution, but it's not exactly visible. But yeah, it's hard enough keeping track of where I get these icons, and I mean they are freely distributed. I'm pretty sure there are other places where I could get them with different licenses on it as well, and it's always, yeah. But I do want to give artists credit where it's possible. Anyway, should think about that. Right. This looks like it's more or less going to be working, so let's see if we can get that into command palette. We're going to add a reference. Projects. Browse. Tools, better key binding, and you should be here, right? Oh, that's actually okay. Bin release. Haven't actually built anything. I built a debug? No. Way to go. Just open another instance. Why are you not? There you go. Build you, and we're in debug. That's fine. I don't particularly care. I should be able to just import you as a different thing as well, though. Oh, and it's done all the local copy bullshit. Meh. But I should be able to import you as an actual project. Is this the shared project? Is that what I'm looking for here? No, it's still just taking the DLL. So I just need to add you as a project here then, I guess. Existing projects. There, tools. Better key binding. That one. Yeah. Alright, that I like that better. I do need to. Ooh, no, not Microsoft C#, please. I don't know where that came from. I hope that doesn't break anything. Anything that says Microsoft or Windows in it is usually bad. Because it will not work with Mono. I don't know why it felt like it had to insert that anyway. Oh. Set all of those to not copy themselves. See you later, Smash. Am I making spaghetti? No. I'm not actually a Microsoft hater that much. I mean, I use Visual Studio Code and Visual Studio extensively, so. But yeah. Public better key binding def. That is obviously what I wanted, yes. Am I sure? Yes, I am pretty sure. I'm trying to. What are you implying? That I have spaghetti code? I mean, I thought I was past my days as a script kiddie making PHP spaghetti code. So I have a nullable context for my RimWorld mod from C#8. The nullable context is what you can. That's not like the things that you can put in the what you call it, like the method signatures, right? Oh yeah, okay. So that's exactly like the built-in version of like what you can also do is like this stuff. but that is actually added by JetBrains, I think, and that's what some stuff uses. But this is like built into the yeah. Okay, cool. I have enabled C# 8 because I can. I don't know if I have it here, but I've done it on other ones because you can. I don't know. Palette scale. You can do the coalescing assignment or something. I mean, I'm pretty sure it won't work here because the float cannot be null, but. Yeah. So I could do. That's going to fill. That's a pointer. That works. Nullable. What else? Just going to assume that this is actually never null, which it should not be. So it would be here on both. No. Right, so we have the key binding set up. We would need to add that as an option. So varrect equals options get rect for this, and we'll get it at 30f, which is going to be too small because we're taking a margin of 6, which is ridiculous. So let's half the margin or something, but we can do that easily enough. We also now need. I'm starting to regret my choices with regards to creating a separate editor class. But alright, whatever. Key binding. This is net 472. I haven't tried using .NET Standard. I had some, like theoretically that should work, right? Because 472 implements at least 2.0 of .NET Standard. I'm not sure about 2.1. So you would think that you could use .NET Standard 2.0 libraries in 4.72, and because mono bleeding edge, which is what we're using at the moment, should also be like similar or the same as .NET 4.7.2, that should all work fine just without any issues. Yeah. Just spoiler alert, it doesn't. No. Just tells me here that I need to convert from nullable to actual rect. I did that. It tells me I'm wrong though. But that's just a. I mean, guess is a. You could always do that, no? I mean, rect is a struct. I mean, it would be different if you had like a value type there. So if we had like a, I don't know, a key binding editor. Still works. No, doesn't work. Yeah. Now this is where it goes wrong. Like if I use a value type, then it's going to say the annotation for nullable reference type should only be used in code within a nullable annotations context. Yeah, but this always worked. Like you could always do like bool, create like a nullable bool as a reference type or as a struct. I mean that already worked in when we were still on 3.5. Anyway, yeah, I'm really regretting my life choices. If we go to work, the return types provided from remote won't be nullable. No. Yeah, I don't know how it. I mean, if it works exactly the same as the JetBrains or the resharper annotations, then it would still at least give you an error or warning that okay, you haven't checked if this is null or not, which would be valuable in and of itself. But if it actually does like the value wrapper that nullable for structs and reference types does, then yeah, that's not going to work. But I mean, you could still use the resharper annotations, right? Assuming you have resharper, obviously. But yeah. Yeah, sure, whatever. I'm going to get rid of the editor because this is pointless and I need to create an instance of it for no real reason, and then I need to create instances in mod settings and whatever. That's just pointless. Not necessary. So we're going to move this out, and means we just need to add the edit mode and move this function over. And then we've got everything that we need because we put all the other shit in there anyway. So that's in here. Then all of these dev instances we can basically remove because we're on the dev. Well, not just basically, we can remove them. No, not that one. Yeah, and this one doesn't really make sense anymore. So we can just make this like that, and now we're going to complain that this is the same. Yep, that's fair enough. I'm just gonna make this a property because that just makes more sense. Okay. I am happy about that. So I think it might be best to lose focus on the input when you make a selection. Yeah, the problem I have with that is, well, yeah, I can do that. Yeah, that would definitely work. I was thinking about just releasing the whole palette when you make a selection, but I don't think I can distinguish between opening a pop-up of the float menu and actually making a selection, because I think they both trigger process input, and then in there it just either like makes a float menu or actually closes it. But I'm not entirely sure, so I'd have to try that and see how it works. Because I could also just like close the palette then, which would make total sense, because I mean you've made your selection, so unless you don't want to. But again, that could be an option. I mean, I can also imagine that you have a couple of things in there and then it makes it easier to switch, but I don't think that's a viable scenario anyway. And it's not that hard to bring it back up by just right clicking, or hopefully soon doing any other type of click. We can remove U. Right, in the settings we have got, I also need to be able to give you a default value, but yeah, anyway. We've got ourselves a rect, then we need to say key binding, draw rect, and we'll make the margin 3. But yeah, either way, yeah, it's definitely a good idea to do something so that Q and E work. So once this is somewhat implemented, I'll put that in there. Get rid of some extra usings. That's drawing them. I just need to give this a new better key binding def key code. What was I using? No, I was using an int, so that would just be one. Ta-da! Let's make ourselves a couple constructors for this. We need an empty one, because this thing is exposable. So this is for scribe. Public better key binding def type input type. Do we need to have like a common one? Yeah, because we're gonna call that a lot. Type. No. Key binding def. If we just type an int, then that would be the button. And that's going to redirect to I am thinking about it a little bit. It's just, yeah. Maybe at some point. I woke up this morning with the desire to make the the little plugin I made yesterday, the extension, to actually make it look good and give it like a proper user interface and like a nice pop-up that you could that was integrated with GitHub, so that you could like get a list of your repositories, select which repository it should go to, like get a list of your labels and just do the label selection thing and everything. I was like, I really want to do that, but then I realized that that is stupid and I really don't need to do that. So this type is button, button is button, no, the other way around please. And this modifiers is modified. Modifiers, not a mod. That doesn't make any bloody sense. Better key binding def. And we have a vector 2. Scroll direction, please. Event modifiers mod equals event modifiers none type equals scroll almost. This scroll direction is scroll direction. This modifier equals modifiers. Final one. BKD. Key codes. Key. Event modifiers equals none. Almost. Key this key equals key. This modifiers equals done. With a meme maker a few years back, it takes an image URL, a top text and a bottom text, and output an image URL of the same image with the top bottom text embedded in it. And one of these days, probably I'm back instead of image magic. Yeah, there's a couple of these kind of websites. Yeah, that's yeah, that's pretty much the level of my. I put them underneath each other. And I added a little reset repos button because I realized that if you make a typo in like the reset thingy or in the repo selection, then it stores that and you can never like change it anymore. So now you can just like reset all of your repository information and then you can change the one you did wrong and all of your other ones. Isn't that amazing? But yeah. No, I tend to overcomplicate things. So this is this is for work. We're working with a concept map and automatically generating feedback on it. So this is my little playground where I can see like how the algorithm works and stuff like that. So this is like a view app with 20 different components and different views for the underlying data and things. And it's just slight overkill, perhaps, maybe, possibly. But hey, I'm getting paid for this, so. There's no reason that this needs to look nice, or that these buttons need to have a nice color, or that this needs to be animated. Although, to be fair, this is just a package. This is just this JS. So, I mean, it's not like I did a lot of work to make that animated, but yeah. I did do a lot of work to hook up all of these different data matrices and everything. Anyway. Oh, it does. That's cool. Yeah, I was gonna say I can test it, but I don't actually have an animated GIF ready right now. Actually, that's not true. I do. Going on a huge segue here, but in command palette, I have a link to an animated GIF. That is also a very nice GIF. Fui. Let's try that one then. I put some on Imgur as well. Yes, nice. Very nice. Beautiful. Quite quick too. Most of these online GIF changing thingies always take forever. Right, let's get back to what we're doing. We've got the constructors now, so we are able to actually construct things on demand, and theoretically we should also be able to, just because I can, public static operator, no, implicit operator, and this is going to return a better keybinding def from a keybinding def. This is the first step into taking over RimWorld's return new better keybinding def from keybinding. Let's do that one. Yeah, I know how it works. I mean, I have a vague idea of how it works. Because there's also many different ways to like encode a GIF, isn't there? Or GIF, or whatever you want to call it. It's a GIF. All right. So in the settings, we've created this. We've defaulted it as a right mouse button. Typo in identifier key binding. Yeah, whatever. Let's build this stuff, see what happens. Let's quickly double check that it hasn't fucked up the assemblies, because it does that sometimes. Nope, got the minimum edit distance stuff. Yeah, this is all we need. Harmony is getting bloated. Why are we including harmony at all? We shouldn't be. Oops. Command palette, assemblies. Let's remove it there as well. Rebuild that, and it should be gone now. Yeah, better, much better. Nice. I want to, one of my next project is going to be, I should probably use that. To be fair, I never saw the point of it because it actually only includes like fake references or something. So you don't get, I'm not sure to what extent you get like autocomplete and or IntelliSense and like the live. Sorry, fighting with RimWorld here. Like a decompiler, because I use JetBrains or the ReSharper to also decompile within Visual Studio quite a lot. And I don't think that would be possible with those. But then on the other hand, it also makes it a lot easier for other people to collaborate on it. Yeah, I don't know. What I have at the moment is, so I've got my mod cookie cutter adapted from the original. So that keeps like just puts in the basic RimWorld reference and the four Unity references that I need. Yeah, you exported the whole thing. Does that work nicely? I mean, I just have the nspy around. I mean, it's also, yeah, it's just nice. You can search things and look at the IL, the intermediate code. What was I going to say? Oh yeah, I have no, that's definitely not what I was going to go for. I used to. Yeah, there we go. I have a symlink to the managed file, so it's relative to my mods directory, and then this is also symlinked to the RimWorld directory, which at least simplifies things a little bit. But yeah. Okay. I do want to see have a look at that at some point. So I'm still intrigued by it. Not sure it's going to take over my normal build process, but yeah, I don't know what they are exactly. It's like symlinks or folder junctions or whatever the fuck. There's this nice plugin that allows you to make a symlink, which is yeah, you can't see that now, but yeah. Big link source, and then you can just drop it as a hard link, symbolic link, and it's got a few different actions depending on what you're doing. I always forget the name of the plugin, but it's quite nice. Anyway, oh yeah, I actually was looking at the. I didn't realize that Mint had something that is really quite similar. So over dub wise has the Mint menus, and he has also like this round command palette thingy. I didn't know that existed at all, but it does something similar. You can also open it with record map button, and then you can set a number of commands to be in there as like favorites. So it's somewhat similar. It's not the same, but it serves a similar purpose. I think mine is better, obviously. But yeah. I guess if you have them different keybinds, you can use one for like your preset stuff and the other for other stuff. That makes sense. I was wondering, by the way, do you think I should, because right now for like the recently used commands, I'm using what is recently used from the command palette. Should I use any recently used commands? So also from Dub's Mint menus and just the normal architect field. Yeah, this is also, I'm not sure why that is wrong. It's annoying me. Shouldn't be. Yeah, see, this is... That's exactly what I was talking about. I forgot to copy the image. Anyway, this part is still working at least. Chop things. Yay. Ooh, object not set to a reference. Yeah, okay, yeah, fair enough. What is that going to be? Because I mean, this is set. Right? So what are we talking about here? I mean, we are in settings to window contents. So I would think this is about the image. but it shouldn't be. Okay, I don't know what that means. Who is Sir Charles Anthony Richard Hoare? Ah. Right. I mean, there's got to be a trillion now. Yeah, fair enough. I I'm really not sure what it's complaining about. I mean, I presume it's here. Gosh dang it. It's scribing first, so it's trying to load. It doesn't exist yet, so then it overrides whatever I set here to be the default with whatever the default was in the scribe. Um, yeah. Well, I mean, there's a better way to do that, right? So, I mean, what I'm using, which is obviously the better way to do that, so I have my own debug class, and you just add a conditional compilation to it. I mean, that's the whole point of my debug messenger. So if I compile in release mode, anything that has that in it is just going to get silently dropped. It's just not going to be compiled. I mean, that serves the same purpose, but without the weird split. I mean, they have an option where you can still print it if you're not in debug mode, but I mean, then you might as well just have the difference between debug and message now. Oh, you're actually working on Combat Extended now, right? I forgot about that. In my head, it's still Nia doing that. I feel for you, dude. Were you involved with it before, or? Yeah, I think that should be. Well, that part is still working. Dope. Right, well, I did something wrong, clearly. I left the alignment. Well, that's it. That's what I did wrong. That's just it. Okay, well, that's not terrible. Yeah, I know that feeling. And it's really annoying when the bug then just doesn't want to die. I spent one Christmas break 2 years ago, like trying to fix the same small damn problem that I couldn't fix, and just in the end, I was about ready to throw my computer out of the window. I did give up eventually. Well, I give up. I adopted a good enough approach. That was for the node placement for a research tree. It's like this algorithm I just couldn't get implemented correctly. Still haunts me at night. It doesn't, but yeah, you can reload, but I can probably just close you because I'm not going to use you. Right. In here, you are not properly resetting your anchor. And you need to be upper left at the end. Alright. That's about it. That's what went wrong there. Then there's something wrong with... Yeah. This needs to be width times a third. And then everything else should start making sense. Okay, good. Let's copy over our image. So this we can just copy and put it in command palette, which doesn't have textures yet. Oh, and then it did that. Right, okay. And go there. No. Yeah, well, actually, yes. UI, and then icons goes in UI. Textures, UI, icons, edit. I do believe that was what we defined it to be. Let's build that again so that everything gets moved over. Take it on and take it on I did. And right as I was submitting the PR, they had a huge upheaval and I retired, rage quit, and so they asked me if I wanted to be a more program maintainer. Alright. So how many people are working on it now? And also what sorry, I'm interested in the drama because we had a drama before. Like Nia did this before once, where he had a hissy fit and left combat extended, kind of. That's still working, and the mod settings. Did I not give it a name? I guess I never gave it a name. Okay, but the image here is also not working, although that is working. I can do left control, shift. Okay, and now it's just setting the key to left control, which is not what I wanted. That's not bad. So you actually have a chance of releasing the next version before the next patch comes out, or? Okay, so I know the icon is there. It's just not actually showing. Scrolls are wrong. Scrolling sideways gives a scroll unknown. I mean, the basic concept works. Oh, non plus shift. So shift doesn't count as a key, as far as that thing is concerned. It also doesn't immediately update, which is... But alt and control do. So that is alt GR, not left control. Function does nothing. That is right control, that's correct. Non plus shift is still a thing. So I need to cut none off. Alright, good on you. Have a nice lunch. Right. All right, so that takes the non out of the description. Yeah, non was 0, right? Yeah. So that's always going to be like a member of it. I don't think it matters. I really don't think it matters for like the comparison's sake to check whether or not we're doing the right one. What does matter is we need excuse me. We need we need to ignore the modifier keys. So that's in our draw function, right? Yeah. Okay, so this is doing the preview rect with the correct modifier labels. We need to say that if the key down and current, like, can we say is command or something, or is modifier? I mean, you could also just do it with these and just say alt control and shift potentially. I mean, that's also included in this. No, I think I just need to like manually check that the key isn't one of those things. Key code is not control. Oh gosh, this is going to be painful. Okay, that's for right control. Then we probably have different shifts. Yep, left shift and right shift. We have alts. We have alt gr and alt left. And so, yeah, sure. We have right alt. So that's Control, Shift, and Alt. Let's see if we have a different one for command. I'm not sure that we do. So we have Apple, but I think that's an actual key. That's not the command key. So that's similar to Windows key, and you could potentially want to bind that to something. So there we have Windows. And this is all the lefts that we have. Bracket, arrow, curly bracket, parentheses. These are all real things. So that just leaves us with Shift, Alt, Control, and we've done those. Right, same story, same keys. Apparently it's possible to have a right Windows. Wasn't aware of that, don't really care. Let's quickly go over everything just to make sure. But I think this covers it. You could potentially have the function key, because that's also a modifier that was in the list. Lots of joystick buttons. Jesus Christ. What the fuck? Yeah, we come to the left. I think menu is the, yeah, but that's also another modifier. Now there's numlock, none of those are modifiers. Get the rights. No, none of those are modifiers. Why is that sidebars? There's no function there, is there? No. Interesting. So we've got Control, Shift, and Alt, and apparently Command is included in Control. Because otherwise I have to assume that it would show up somewhere. So this stops it from triggering our save logic when it's just one of those keys. Oh yeah, we haven't actually changed this logic to use that instead of right mouse button. So let's do that as well, just to make sure that things are still working. So that's here, here. So these things can remain the same, and then we add command palette, settings, key binding, just pressed. I want that to be a capital. Oh. Okay. I have a sneaky suspicion this is going to fail big time, but we'll find out soon enough. It should be saving them already, which would be kind of fun to see. But no, it's not. Why is it not? It should be. It's saving the other stuff. I'm trying to save it as a value, but it should be a deep. Why am I trying to save it at all? Here. I don't think I actually added it anywhere yet. Where are you hiding? Oh, in settings, obviously. No, I did add it. This should be scribe deep, because the key binding has its own Yeah, and then this shouldn't be that, but this should be just 1. Because this is now a list of constructor arguments that it's been given for a thing. Yeah, so it's always going to default to right mouse button, which is not great, but it'll do. Oh, that's clearly not working. Oh yeah, and because oops. I really need to add a try catch block around it, because when it's not working, it's kind of intercepting all further inputs, because it's breaking that input loop, which is not brilliant. And we've got another null ref. Why are you doing this to me? I think it's doing this to me because it's now trying to load it and finding nothing, so it's setting it to no. Probably weird, but there is an overload. What is the overload? Adding safe to store text. No, don't give a shit about that. Like, I don't understand why it's doing this to me. Why you do this to me? Right, we should at least be getting interesting. Okay. I was gonna say we should at least be getting it from here. If the key binding is null, then that. But maybe it's complaining about the label being null then? Which would make perfect sense, to be honest. Is it though? Because it's not, is it? It's still in handle shortcuts. Oh, it never gets there. How annoying. Okay, let's fix that first then. You have handle shortcut somewhere. Alright, so if the key binding doesn't actually exist, then you can go back to false. And also... wrap it in a try catch block, re-raise the error as a message, but don't actually crash and burn. That should help make things a little bit nicer. So if this fails, then it doesn't feel quite so hard. that should at least give us a chance to see the messages that we're looking for, and that is to see what the fuck is going on with the key binding itself now. Is it loading it as null? Is it not setting it? Is it why? What's it doing? Alright, we're not getting continuous errors. It's also not working, but and we're getting errors here. And the key binding is null. Okay, now at least we know what's going on. I'm not entirely certain what the interaction is here and why it is happening in this way. But what I'm going to do is cheat. I'm going to make a backing field that actually holds the key binding. This is going to be a getter that assigns the key binding if necessary. New key binding def. I need to add a label to that as well. Yeah, need to add a label to that. Anyway, this is going to be 1, and this needs to have a label. Open command palette. Which means that I need to change all of these to actually include a label. Okay. So this just creates it if it doesn't already exist, which is only slightly cheating. Then we need to store it as that one and use it as that one. And we don't want to use constructor arguments anymore. I think this ought to work. I need to turn my shit room world says mod back on. The default messages are boring. Whoop-de-doo. Okay, this is a good sign. Yeah, well, the image button is still not working. Okay, so I can Control, Shift, Alt, S. And then it's just storing it as S. You motherfucker! Why? So it's immediately forgetting about the actual modifiers, because I guess that's not the event it cares about. And shift itself is apparently not an event that like re-renders it. So shift holding does nothing until I move. Please explain that to me. I think we need to switch to using input. And I need to switch scroll up and down. And this is also not working insofar as actually opening the... I guess that could be because it's intercepted by the map before. I mean, that's not... Yeah. It's not technically like my fault. Well, that works at least. But it is certainly slightly annoying. So I may just want to remove it, because that kind of means that it's never going to be actually useful. Middle mouse button. Does that work? Yes. Amazing. Alright, I am also going to take a quick break, have some lunch, get some new coffee, and then I'm going to come back and clean this up and make sure that it actually works for well, what it's supposed to do, and it's actually assign modifiers and keys together, because, well, I mean, this is kind of janky. But, I mean, this works. Yeah, I had it. The type is mouse button and the key was set to S at some point, kind of by accident. I mean, ideally you might want to clean those out and not save them. But it doesn't really matter, it's just leftover data, because it's actually like this type routes it to use the button instead. Kind of weird that the scroll direction isn't saved as well, because we did have it set to scrolling up and down at some point as well. Anyway, I'm gonna have some lunch. Thank you very much for being here. I'll be back probably later this afternoon. Ciao, have a good day. Oh, and don't forget to honor the king and cheer his name. Today is King's Day. Hallelujah. Something. What do you actually sing? I'm sure we have a song for that. Whatever. Look it up. King's Day.